His book changed everything. Manifest and Receive explained.
There are moments in life when a sentence hits harder than a shout, when silence between the words carries more power than the words themselves. And sometimes a book enters your life not to inform you, but to wake you, to hold a mirror to your thoughts, to your energy, to the way you've been moving through the world. Manifest and Receive by Eva Hartley is one of those books, not filled with hype or empty promises, but quiet truths that change the way you think, the way you speak to yourself, and most importantly, the way you receive what you've been asking for all along. Manifestation is often misunderstood. People chase goals with intensity, thinking that effort alone will bring results. They push, hustle, and force things to happen, believing that the more energy they exert, the faster life will respond. But the truth is more subtle, quieter. Manifestation is not about force. It's about alignment. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. There is a deep difference between wanting something and being the type of person who naturally receives it. The first comes from a place of lack, of absence, of noticing what's missing. The second comes from wholeness, from becoming the match for what you desire. That's the essence of alignment. When you are aligned, the energy within you is no longer scattered. Your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions move as one. They carry a quiet certainty, not a demand, not a scream, but a silent knowing. Think about this. When you say, I want success, are you also holding beliefs that say you're not ready, not capable, not worthy? Because if so, what you're really vibrating with is contradiction. You're pushing forward with your hands while pulling back with your heart. That creates friction, and friction blocks flow. Manifestation is the art of tuning yourself to the frequency of the life you want. Just like a radio dial, you must find the exact signal. You cannot hear classical music while tuned to a heavy metal station. Similarly, you cannot manifest peace if your internal dialogue is full of anxiety, fear, and doubt. The external always mirrors the internal. The world reflects your state of being, not your wishes. To align means to return to your center. It means calming the noise and getting honest with yourself. Are you moving with trust or with tension? Are you asking for something while holding on to resentment, impatience, or desperation? These energies don't align with receiving, they align with resistance. Look at nature. A flower does not bloom by force. It receives water, sunlight, and stillness. Then it opens. Not by panic, not by competition, but by natural unfolding. You too are a part of nature. You were not designed to force your way through life. You were meant to tune in, to listen, to allow. That's alignment. That's manifestation in its purest form. People often say, but I visualize, I affirm, I work so hard. Why doesn't it come? The answer lies in energy. Visualizing abundance while holding fear is like pouring clean water into a muddy glass. The intent is pure, but the container is still unclear. Clean the container, clean your energy. Align your actions, thoughts, and feelings with the version of you who already lives that life. Imagine someone who wants love. They make lists, say affirmations, and wish for a partner. But deep down, they believe they're not lovable. They carry old wounds. They protect themselves by closing their heart. No matter how much they want love, their energy says, stay away. Wanting is not enough. They must become love. They must feel safe enough to give and receive it. That is alignment. Or think of someone chasing financial freedom. They chase it with panic, with fear, with self-doubt. They want money, but their relationship with it is broken. They feel guilty when they receive, shame when they spend, and fear that it will all disappear. So no matter how many strategies they try, it never sticks. Because the mindset isn't aligned with abundance. It's aligned with survival. True abundance comes when you trust the flow, when you believe you are safe, supported, and worthy, regardless of what the bank account says in this moment. This is why becoming the version of yourself who already has what you desire is the real work. That version of you doesn't chase. That version doesn't doubt. That version walks, speaks, and acts with quiet certainty. They are not waiting. They are not desperate. They are open. When you are aligned, you stop asking when. You stop checking, measuring, worrying. You know it's on the way. You know it's inevitable. Because you feel it within you already. This is the inner shift that changes everything. It cannot be faked. The universe does not respond to your words, it responds to your energy. If your energy says, I don't believe it, then no matter what you say, the message is received. So shift the energy, align the belief, embody the outcome. This doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. Alignment is not laziness. It's precision. It's moving with clarity, not chaos. It's taking action that is inspired, not fearful. When you are aligned, you do less but achieve more. You're not spinning your wheels. You're flowing with direction. When you realize this, life becomes lighter. You stop fighting. You stop begging. You start becoming. You shift from force to flow. You move from tension to trust. And in that space, miracles become normal. Opportunities appear. People respond differently. Doors open, not because the world changed, but because you did. And when you change your frequency, your world must match it. That's not magic. That's alignment. That's a manifestation. That's the power of being instead of begging. Because in the end, what you're seeking is not outside of you. It is waiting for you to rise into it, to claim it, not by shouting, but by softening, not by chasing, but by aligning. You already are what you wish to receive. You just have to remember it and return to it, quietly, deeply, fully. Desire on its own is not enough. Many people carry dreams in their hearts, yet never see them realized. They wish they want, they even pray, but nothing changes. That's because desire without belief creates resistance. When there is a disconnect between what you want and what you believe to be true about yourself, you unintentionally push away the very things you are trying to pull in. There is a story you tell yourself every day, sometimes with words, but more often in silence. This story plays in your mind like background music. It's in your thoughts, your reactions, your assumption. And if that story says, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, or things never work out for me, then that narrative becomes your reality. It becomes the lens through which life reflects back to you. You can't desire success while believing you're undeserving of it. You can't long for deep love while secretly fearing abandonment. You can't aim for wealth while holding the belief that money is evil or that having more will make others judge you. These unconscious beliefs act like anchors. They don't allow your desires to move freely. They block the flow of manifestation. This internal conflict is subtle but powerful. It shows up as self-sabotage, procrastination, hesitation, or the inability to take the final step. And often, it's not because you lack ability or opportunity. It's because your internal story isn't yet in harmony with your external goals. Until your inner world aligns with your outer desires, they will remain at a distance. You can speak affirmations all day, but if your subconscious is still holding the opposite truth, nothing will shift. The universe listens to the frequency of your belief, not just the volume of your voice. Belief is not just a thought. It is a vibration. It's the felt sense that something is possible for you, not someday, but now. and that belief must be consistent. You cannot step into a new identity with one foot still stuck in the old perfection. It only requires awareness. The more aware you become of your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, the more power you gain to shift them. And each time you choose peace over urgency, clarity over chaos, and trust over fear, you realign. You become the cause, not just the effect. You become the creator, not the victim. And in that space, the universe doesn't just respond, it harmonizes. Life begins to meet you where you are, not where you used to be, because you're no longer asking from a place of lack. You're inviting from a place of wholeness. And that is when things move quickly, gently, and powerfully. That is when everything changes, not by chance, but by choice. Letting go is often the hardest part of manifestation, not because it's complicated, but because the human mind is conditioned to hold on to outcomes, to expectations, to control. We are taught to believe that the more we hold, the more we grip, the more likely we are to get what we want. But the truth is the opposite. The final step to manifesting what you desire is to let go, to release the tight grip, to surrender not as an act of weakness, but as the deepest form of trust. Surrender is not giving up. It is not saying, I don't care anymore. It is saying, I trust what I've asked for, and I trust the path it will take to arrive. It's making space for what's meant to come without needing to micromanage the how or the when. It's an act of faith, not passivity. It's knowing that when your energy, actions, and beliefs are aligned, the outcome is inevitable, but the timeline is not yours to control. This space, the gap between the asking and the receiving, is sacred. It tests your patience, your belief, your consistency. Most people don't fail at manifesting because they lack desire or action. They fail because they never let go. They ask, they align for a moment, and then they obsess, they overthink, they doubt, they dig up the seed they just planted to check if it's growing, and in doing so they interrupt the process. They block the flow. Letting go means allowing the desire to be released into the universe without the desperation to chase it. You don't need to constantly watch it, monitor it, or question it. Think of it like placing an order at a restaurant. You decide what you want, you place the order, then you sit back and trust the kitchen to prepare it. You don't keep yelling at the waiter, is it coming? You don't barge into the kitchen to see if the chef is doing it right. You trust the process because you've already placed the order. Manifestation works the same way. The moment you obsess, you declare you don't trust. The energy of desperation is resistance. The energy of surrender is attraction. But letting go is uncomfortable. It feels like silence. It feels like waiting. And the mind doesn't like stillness. It likes control. It wants to know the plan. It wants to predict the future. It wants guarantees. But the universe does not operate through anxiety. It operates through resonance. When your energy is calm, clear, and surrendered, you open the door for what's meant to enter. You stop forcing. You start flowing. This doesn't mean you do nothing. It doesn't mean you sit back and wait without taking action. Aligned action is always part of the process. But surrender means you act without attachment. You take steps not from fear, but from alignment. You trust that each step is enough, that each small movement brings you closer, not because you force it to, but because you're in harmony with it. Letting go also means releasing the version of your desire that your ego created. Sometimes what we ask for comes in a different form. It shows up as a detour, a lesson, a delay, and if you're too attached to one version of the outcome, you might miss the blessing that's arriving in disguise. Surrender creates the openness to receive not just what you wanted, but something even better, something more aligned with your soul rather than your fear. There's a quiet power in saying this or something greater. That statement doesn't deny your desire, it expands it. It allows the universe to work with possibilities you haven't even imagined. When you let go, you move from the limitations of the mind to the creativity of the cosmos. You make room. Imagine holding a full cup. If your hands are already full, nothing new can be poured in. You have to empty it. You have to release the old belief, the old plan, the old attachment. Letting go is not the end. It is the invitation. It is saying, I am ready to receive. Not because you're tired of trying, but because you know you've already done enough. True letting go comes from inner knowing. It's the quiet moment where you feel peace without proof. Where do you stop measuring progress by how close the outcome seems and start trusting your vibration, your alignment, your journey? It's a shift from external validation to internal stability. And this inner peace becomes magnetic. The moment you let go, you change your frequency. You no longer radiate lack, you radiate wholeness. You no longer chase, you allow. You become the person who lives in trust, not tension. And that shift is when manifestation accelerates, because the universe mirrors that trust. It flows with ease into open hands. Letting go is also about releasing the timeline. Your ego might want results in a day, a week, or a month, but your soul is not in a rush. The timing of the universe is often more intelligent than your immediate desire. What you perceive as delay may be divine preparation. What feels like stagnation may be realignment. You don't always see the full picture, but letting go says, I don't need to see it to believe it. There's freedom in it. A freedom that says, I've done my part and now I allow life to do its part. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. It's stepping into your role as co-creator, not controller. It's recognizing that trust is not passive, it's powerful. It holds the space for miracles. So breathe, soften, release. You don't need to push harder, you need to allow deeper. You've already planted the seed, you've already aligned your intention. Now, trust the soil, trust the sun, trust the season. Letting go is not forgetting, it's remembering who you are in the waiting. It's remembering that what is truly meant for you cannot miss you, but it also cannot reach you while you're clinging to fear. When you release control, you rise in power, you make space, and in that space, the unseen begins to move. Quietly, perfectly, unfailingly. In the end, manifestation is not about chasing or convincing the universe to give you what you want. It is about becoming the version of yourself who is truly ready to receive it. Every desire you hold is not outside of you. It is a reflection of your potential, waiting to be claimed from within. But for that potential to become reality, your energy must align with trust. Your beliefs must align with your worth, and your actions must align with peace. The universe mirrors what you are, not what you wish for. If you radiate fear, it reflects chaos. If you radiate doubt, it reflects delay. But if you radiate clarity, calm, and confidence, even without evidence, the universe responds in kind. You are not meant to struggle your way into alignment. You are meant to soften, to tune in, to surrender. Letting go is not the moment you give up. It is the moment you rise above resistance. It is the doorway between intention and realization. It is the final act of trust that says, I know it's already mine. I no longer need to grip it. I make space now. Because what's meant for you does not need to be chased. It needs to be welcomed. And you welcome it not with force, but with frequency. Not with worry, but with readiness. You let it find you where you are. Clear, grounded, open. That's when the shift happens. 3. Quietly, powerfully, and suddenly everything begins to move, not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with it.